The time has come, Money Heist is over, but did Season 5 wrap it up in the way we had hoped? Let's talk about it. What is up, Netflix fans? Welcome back to my channel. We're going to talk about the finale of Money Heist, Part 2 of Season 5, and I need you guys in the comments down below. What is your favorite season of this show? Who was your favorite character, and did this finale satisfy you? Let's get into it. And while it's not going to be a spoiler-heavy review, I have to talk about kind of the cliffhanger of Part 1, so if you haven't seen it, now's your time to tune away. Okay, so as we know, Tokio has died, and the Professor in this episode, he's finding himself having somewhat of a breakdown and losing control, as he has been doing, of this situation in its entirety, which gives Alicia the opportunity to escape. And then we go back to the bank, and the emotional impact and resonance of Tokio's death has the entire team heartbroken. And I mean, we get some moments with characters where they're really reeling with the situation at hand. And oh my gosh, I mean, Tokio has been, for the most part, my favorite character from this entire show. So the death left me, like our characters, just completely in awe, like jaw on the floor. And everybody was asking the question, is Tokio really dead? And unfortunately, the answer we get in the first episode back, well, it's really one that not everyone's going to be happy with, even though we're still getting Tokio's voiceover kind of walking us through this situation. But it's almost the most dire situation that our heroes, if you want to call them that, has been in. And oh my goodness, the emotions in episode 6 are as real as they have been throughout the entire series. And this season as a whole, Season 5 kind of coming off of Season 4 that wasn't as impactful. In the first 3 seasons, the Professor always feels like he's, 50 steps ahead of everyone else. Every time something bad happens, there's a contingency plan in place that allows them to one-up the competition. And Season 4, it felt like the circumstances were just surrounding them to a point to where they couldn't quite get themselves out of what they had built up to at that point. And in Season 5, we're still kind of coming off of that, and this weighs so heavy on our characters, and Rio is kind of questioning everything, right? The difference between good and bad deeds, what they have accomplished. And as these final 5 episodes progress, the question's always coming in and out of our mind. It's like, are they going to do it? Are they going to pull off the greatest heist ever in history? And the entire world, that's what it feels like, is watching. I mean, we're watching, but within the show, everybody's watching to see if they can pull it off and to see who survives, who doesn't. And even though, for the most part, our team, a couple of key characters aside, of course, but they felt like they've just had immunity throughout the entire show, to the point to where it's almost unbelievable at times. But as fans, we embrace and accept that tone. They can do and accomplish anything, and the circumstances up until this season haven't been quite as dire, but we see what everyone's going through in this first episode back, talking about the fact that saying, I want this pain to go away. What they're going through emotionally and physically is, in my opinion, the worst thing they've had to experience thus far. And on the other side, the cops and the mayor, they feel like they have the upper hand. The Professor doesn't feel as in charge here as he normally does, and that's why the circumstances seem so much worse in these final few episodes. Not only that, but secrets are coming to light that even we didn't know about as fans. And when it looks completely dire for all of our characters, things are maybe even worse than they've ever been. That's when this season really started to hit its stride, because as we know, there are always contingency plans in place. And while I'm not going to say what those are, there are some things that come to light, and like I said, secrets that make their way into the final few episodes that I was just like, okay, back to formula, right? We're back to what made the first 3 seasons great, and that is the Professor that we know and love, the relationships that are slowly forming and building, and in this case, reeling from the loss that everyone has had to suffer. And then when we see characters, even in the finale episode, we see a character believe that all has been lost, and the devastation on his or her face. What we love about this show starts to showcase itself once again, and I can safely say that this finale season, and especially the finale episode, because again, the first 5 episodes, you're trying to figure out what's going on, things feel a bit dire, but when you put the 2 parts, the 2 halves together and make a whole, that's when it stands out as, okay. That's where it was going all along. And even though we couldn't necessarily see certain things coming, it worked out, in my opinion, with the highest of quality. And you have things that not everyone's going to love, right? There's a lot of slow motion in the final few episodes. Less action than anticipated. It's more that back and forth, the mind games that they've been playing, especially between the Professor and those who just want to take him down once and for all. And there is a countdown. And I won't say who or what it's about in the final episode where someone is counting down 5, 4, and in the midst of every number, the Professor is trying to plead his case as to why this thing shouldn't happen. And it has to be some of the best building of intensity I've seen in a TV show all year, because as an audience, you just don't know what is about to happen. And because of what we saw in episode 5 and the devastation that came from that, I was thinking they could actually do this. And I won't say how it ends or how it wraps up, but oh my God, I felt every ounce, every second, literally, of that countdown, and it was just incredible. And you saw, the Professor's face in that scene and the intensity that came from that moment, all of the culmination of everything in this final season. If it wasn't the final season, I wouldn't feel as strongly. It came to a head, and it was just, that moment was incredible. Now, when we get the fallout from that moment, I will say it was handled with a montage that not everyone's going to love. And there's a song used that, is kind of cliche for that situation specifically. So you may see it kind of roll your eyes and be like, okay. But I was moved. I was emotionally moved. First of all, you're using that song. I'm like, all right, well, I'm kind of a sucker for that song anyway, even though it's so cliche. But I was moved, and the shock factor from that moment, and I'm not going to say what it is or how it plays out, it worked extremely well for me. It's tougher to do a spoiler-free review when I'm talking about specific things, but if you guys saw the finale and got out of it what I got out of it, let me know down below. Did it pay off? Because, prior to that, I loved the mind games. I loved the fact that the Professor, it felt like he was kind of back in that moment. And again, the fallout from everything that happened in the first half. But it was the finale for me, the final episode, over an hour. It was lengthy, but that's what brought it all home. And the questions of what was Arturo's fate, and will the show continue on after Season 5? Even though it has been blatantly said this is the finale season, I believe a lot of those questions will be answered in this part. And overall, I was satisfied with the final season. It got off to a bit of a rocky start at the beginning, but just the way it all culminates and comes together. But I need to know down below, how did you all feel about this final season? I know a lot of people did not enjoy the first part, and that's understandable, right? But at the end of the day, it all comes down to how did it all come together, and I thought the complexity of that was worth it. So I'm going a solid 80% for Season 5 of Money Heist as a whole, but I need to know, what did you guys think of the finale? I appreciate you guys so much for watching. Is there anything that came out on Netflix this weekend that you would like to see me review? If you enjoy this review, drop your thumbs up. That tells me you want more, and be sure to leave a comment, man, because there's a lot to discuss about this finale, and I'm sure not all opinions will be the same. So you guys the best. I'll see you soon.